So a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, there was a shooting, I believe in Florida, and the Greensboro, North Carolina City Council got together to discuss potential restrictions on gun rights. And a single guy got up, Mark Robinson got up and gave a speech that went viral. And here's just a brief clip of that. This is cut 17.
I've heard a whole lot of people in here talking tonight about this group and that group and domestic violence and blacks, these minorities and that minority. What I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody, never committed a serious crime, never committed a felony. I've never done anything like that. But it seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. You want to turn around and restrict my right, constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight. It's ridiculous. I don't think Rod Serling could come up with a better script.
So when I lived out of the country, I was an expatriate for 7 years, and the thing I missed most was that American voice, the blunt, straightforward, straight-talking American voice that is unafraid to say what he has to say. The minute I heard this clip, I thought, that's that voice. That's that voice that I missed. A lot of people must have felt the same way because Mark Robinson was then elected lieutenant governor of the state of North Carolina, despite the fact that a lot of his opponents had outraised him. Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for coming on. It's a real pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm having a little difficulty here this morning.
That's all right. We'll try and make it through here.
Yes, sir.
So explain this now. Your governor is a Democrat, so I'm assuming that you run on a separate ticket than he does.
We do. Separate ticket, completely separate, separate offices, separate duties. Would be wonderful if we could work together, but he's chosen to close his office off, even to some members of his own party, it seems like, and to most of the people of the state. He doesn't listen to what they're saying, and he's been an island all unto himself, and so he's chosen to do that. But I would love to be able to work with the governor, but he's unwilling to do that.
So you now have if he has to step down for any reason, do you take over his office?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If he were to leave, in fact, this is interesting. Back when there was the talk about candidates running for the United States Senate, he was actually on an interview, and the interviewer asked him if he would be interested in running for the Senate, and the braggart that he is, he said, yes, I have thought about it, and I know I could win, but he said, I chose not to do that because if I did that, Mark Robinson would be the governor, and I don't think North Carolina needs that. I think it's exactly what North Carolina needs, though, and so do a lot of other people.
Well, it's nice to have friends in high places.
Absolutely.
So in the meantime, what does the lieutenant governor in North Carolina do?
Well, my main duty is I'm the president of the Senate, but when the Senate is not in session, I sit on the state school board, which has become it's a Herculean task dealing with education. That's what we've dealt with the most of the time that we've been in office, dealing with issues surrounding education. We sit on the board of community colleges. We're also the head of the Energy Policy Council. We've done some work there as well. Other than that, we kind of make our own agenda, and we help the legislature to push the issues that they're trying to push to make the lives of North Carolinians better. And I think we've been pretty successful in all those venues.
Do you have the same problems with the education as the rest of the country, this woke stuff and the critical race theory and everything?
Absolutely. That's the main problem with education. The main problem with education right now is the bureaucrats, those in the high places in education, have led education astray. They're no longer on their primary mission of reading, writing, and mathematics. They're no longer on the primary mission of teaching children about the myriad of ways that they can make a living in this country. They're no longer on the primary mission of teaching children about the nation that they live in, under the government that they live under, and under the system, the economic system that they live under. There are far too many people that are interested in pushing what they call the woke agenda on these children, and it's not serving them well. We spend half of our $26 million budget we spend on public education in this state, and we're unable to teach our children to read on a grade level. We've got to get back to those things that we do best in education, which is the three primary things: reading, writing, and mathematics. And we got to get a healthy dose of discipline back into our hallways and classrooms.
Do you have a chance of doing that, do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've already started that course, started down that road. When I took office, we started a task force called the FACTS Task Force. Stands for Fairness and Accountability in the Classroom for teachers and students. The mission there was to expose some of the indoctrination that's going on across the state. We took examples and allowed people to call our office and email our office from all across the state. We compiled that data and we disseminated it out to news agencies and others to give that proof and that data that this is going on. And now we're going to chart a course on how to combat it.
So one of the things that just every time I hear you, I heard you giving a speech about transgenderism the other day, and every time I hear you, I just hear this American voice. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that American voice, and it's kind of been chased out of the public sphere. And one essential thing about it is that you're openly religious. You openly speak in terms of your religion and in terms of God. First of all, let me ask you: do you mean to do that? Is that something you bring to that naturally?
Absolutely. I do that intentionally. Number one, I do it because for much of my life, I was not really outspoken about my religion. I was kind of shied away from it. I didn't feel like I had a right to stand up and say that I was a Christian. I didn't feel like I necessarily should be saying that I thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for everything that he's done for me. But, after growing up and realizing what he has done for me, I realized, number one, that he's worthy of me doing that and that I should do it. And number two is this goes part and parcel with living in the United States. I don't see any other religion in this country being demonized. I don't see Islam being demonized. Buddhism is not demonized. None of these other religions are demonized. Whenever they want to come after religion, they come after the Christians. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Christians in this nation have done more in this nation to raise up the standard of living, to stand up for what's right than any other group. And I'm really sick of Christians being demonized as a whole in this country. And that's why I stand proudly as a Christian and profess my faith proudly.
Yeah, no, it's the most persecuted religion on earth. There's no question about it. And
yes, absolutely.
Do you feel that registers with North Carolina voters?
It does. It does. Absolutely. There are so many what I call, and this sounds funny saying it, there are so many closeted Christians out there. People who go to work every day, people who go to school every day, who feel like they have to hide their Christian faith because they feel like they're going to be demonized for it. That should not be happening. This in our nation, we have religious freedom, and that should permeate every part of facet of society. No one should be running around being afraid to profess their Christian faith.
Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest mistakes that we've made is allowing them to take religion out of the public square and make us feel like that somehow was constitutionally prohibited, which is just not. I mean, that's just not true.
Absolutely.
So I looked you up to prepare for this. I looked you up on Wikipedia. I don't know if you've ever read your Wikipedia page. Wikipedia is a left-wing instrument, and they don't like you very much. I just got to read you just like two sentences. It says, his political career has been characterized by promotion of conspiracy theories and numerous incendiary statements. And then as examples of that, they say he opposes abortion, promotes climate change denial, and opposes the legalization of recreational marijuana, all of which sound like perfectly reasonable and popular ideas to me. Does it bother you to be characterized like that? They go on, they call you anti-Semitic, they do all the usual left-wing stuff. Does that trouble you?
No, in the theater of the absurd, which we live in, it does not. When you look at the people who are promoting, saying that men can have babies, and that there's no such thing as women, and you have Supreme Court justices who can't define what a woman is when my 4.5-year-old grandson can. No, it doesn't bother me at all to be characterized as a nutcase by people who are nutcases. These people are obviously left-wing. They have an agenda. They want to turn everything up on his head. And we're just going to continue to push back proudly against it because what they're pushing for is just absolute foolishness. And we all know it. We know it. The same people in the world know it.
So I can't help but, listening to you, I can't help but get the feeling that you have your eye on the governor's office. And I'm wondering, what are the issues, if you had to list the issues that trouble you most, first in your state, but also in the country, what would they be?
Number one issue right now is education, because education builds the bridge to the future. We have got to start teaching our children here in this country about number one, get back to teaching reading, writing, and mathematics. I've said it 1,000 times. Grades 1 through 5 should be dedicated strictly for the proposition of teaching a child how to read, write, and do mathematics proficiently, not just on a surface level, proficiently. By the time a child comes out of the fifth grade, they should be able to do mathematics at an outstanding rate, read and write at an outstanding rate. And those 5 grades should be reserved for that. The other grades should be reserved for teaching children about the economic system that they live under, which is capitalism, which has raised more people's standard of living than any other economic economic dogma than any in the world, and teaching them about the government they live under, which is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And we need to get back to teaching our children how those systems work. Once we do that, then we start teaching our children about the myriad of ways that they can make a living in this nation. And there are plenty of ways to make a living. We hear far too often young Black children, when you ask them what they want to be, they say, I want to be a football player or a basketball player or a rapper, or I want to be some Hollywood star. That's not where it's at. Where it's at is doctor, lawyer, business owner. We need to start teaching our children about what success really is in this country. And that's what education should be. So that's going to be the number one priority we're going to move into moving forward. That's going to be our number one priority. Is getting our education system back where it should be. The second priority is making sure that we continue on the path that's been started since 2010 in North Carolina. And that path has been to build the economy of this state into an absolute superpower. The conservative legislature turned this state around and started in 2010. When they talked about lowering corporate taxes, personal taxes, those on the other side of the aisle said the state was going to go broke. That is not the truth. We have a surplus of funds now. Our revenue continues to skyrocket. Our taxes continue to be lowered, and we're reaping the benefits of it. We're one of the most admired states in the nation right now. All the other states are looking at us wondering how all these businesses are clamoring to come to North Carolina. Simple, 2 words, conservative principles. That's why folks are clamoring to come here. We've applied them, and they're working.
Does the governor get to take any credit for that, or is he trying to take credit for that?
He does. The governor takes credit for it quite a bit. I just saw him on TV the other day talking about how North Carolina is on such firm economic footing. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, Mr. Cooper, it doesn't have anything to do with you. If it was up to you, the state would still be in the economic doldrums. We'd still be billions of dollars of debt to the federal government, and we would not be moving forward. It has been because of conservative leadership that this state is on the footing it's on. It doesn't have anything to do with Governor Veto. And I call him that because he's vetoed more bills in this state than every other governor combined in its history.
People like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they sort of say, our whole problem on the left is that we don't double down on our principles. If we really could put radical candidates up there, we would win. And in your gun rights speech, you said, I am the majority. And I just think factually that is the case. And I'm wondering if your experience now you're in office, you're dealing with the public, is that your experience? Are you in the majority, at least in your state? And do you think you are in the majority in the country?
Absolutely. I believe that we are. One of the things that has impressed me more in recent months is this. The more visible I become to people, the more my message is getting shared. I'm not really sure how I've become a star on TikTok. I don't even think I have that downloaded on my phone. So I'm not sure how I've become a star on TikTok, but I've had a lot of videos go viral on TikTok. And the more our message gets out there, the more I'm meeting what I call non-traditional Republicans who have heard my message, loved my message, and have met me and told me it's because of me that they are now giving the other side a glimpse. And that is what really does my heart good. To see us be able to open people's minds and let them know, hey, those thoughts that are in the back of your mind that are telling you what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and what AOC and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are saying is not quite right. It doesn't jive with your beliefs. That voice is real. Listen to that voice, adhere to it, look at other options. And we are that other option. And folks are coming over in droves, especially young people.
That is, I'm so happy to hear that, because I find the minute you leave the coast, the minute you get out of LA and New York and you start to talk to Americans, there's so much common sense out there and they all are afraid to talk. They all say, I'm not an expert. I'm not the intellectual. I don't know. But they're all smarter than the guys in DC. It's just, it's nice to hear that you're inspiring that. I saw one of the speeches I saw, I guess you were in a Black church, and African American voters are traditionally culturally conservative, and yet they keep voting for these guys who deal out programs and ideas. And I was saying this earlier in the show that Democrats treat Black Americans with utter disrespect. They treat Black Americans as if they can't achieve on their own, as if they can't improve their own lives, as if they can't, they have to commit crime. I mean, it's disgusting. And I'm wondering if you reach people, if you reach African Americans in your community and they respond to that.
Absolutely. As I just said, the overwhelming majority of people that are coming up to me now are young Black people. It blows my mind. Everywhere I go, more and more, I see young Black North Carolinians coming up to me saying, "Hey, I saw your video on XYZ. I loved it. I looked you up. I love what you say. My family loves what you say. We're voting for you." I'm telling you, we are drawing people out of that political closet more and more every day. People understand they understand the basics. They understand that a man should not be competing against a woman in women's sports. They understand that that they should be in control of their children's education. They understand that as a business owner, that it is up to them to take care of their employees, and no one should be shutting them down or mandating them. They understand all the things around the mandates with the vaccines and things of that nature. Just as you said, common sense is alive and well in this country. It's just a matter of politicians going out and telling people, look, I'm not the expert. You are. Together, we are going to solve these problems. That's what needs to be done. And when they see folks doing that, they'll come to them, they'll partner with them, and we can get a lot of these problems solved.
When you look at, I'm running out of time, but I just would like to know, when you look at the national GOP, if they said to you, what's the best advice you can give us as a national party, what would you say?
The best advice I would say is to speak up. Stop being afraid to spread the truth. One of the problems that the GOP has had for years, we do not share our story. And our story is a great story. We're called the Grand Old Party. Why are we called the Grand Opportunity? The Grand Old Party. We're called that because we have a grand old story. I had some folks that wanted to try to change that moniker to Great Opportunity Party. I resisted that mightily, because here it is. We have a grand story to tell. We were a party that was created to stand up for the Republic and stand up for all people. We are the party that ended slavery. We're the party that gave women the right to vote. We are the party that repudiated Jim Crow. And we are the party now that is standing up for the sovereignty of this nation, standing up for life in the womb, and standing up for the principles that make this nation great. We need to continue to be the grand old party and tell everybody our story. And don't be afraid to do so.
Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson, God bless you, man. I'd love to hear what you're saying, and I hope you'll come back and talk to us again. It's really great to talk to you.
We sure will. Thank you for having me.
For more Klavan-y goodness, like and subscribe to the Andrew Klavan Podcast.